Here you have a pricing matrix from 2021 AI. So they're a Danish company. They do AI for banks. And they do that on a platform that's called Grace. And so if you're a bank, you can buy a license for Grace. And you're then priced as per two pricing metrics. One is number of users. So small is up to 8. Then medium is from 9 to 20. And then large is 21 and above. And it's a matrix. They price you per model in production. So I have an AI model, I can have it in testing, or I can have it sort of pushed into the business where it's in production and then it does something. So here we only charge for models that are in production and does something in the business. And if I have, let's say 5 and I have 10 employees, then I would read the matrix and I would go here and then I would pay 12,500 euros per month. So that's how it works. So price per model and price per user. Great. Now, value. Are users and models valuable to the bank? Yes. So I asked this and they confirmed, yes. More users equals more work done, equals more AI projects overall. They are valuable to the bank. Great. What about models in production? Also, that's why we're buying it. The model is only deployed when it is proven to create value. So when we have a model in production, it's because it does something. It creates a credit score, or it analyzes something, and then we get value out of that, either because we automate something or it powers a new business case. Super. Okay. Second question, do they want them? Different answer. Do they want models in production? Yes. They would like more models. That's why they are doing the thing in the first place. But users, they always say, yes, we agree that users equals value, so more users generate more value, but how many do we need? So how many users do we need as a minimum in order to do the thing that creates the models, which is what we want? Well, we want the models because there's an outcome, blah, 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 blah. So they had never sold more than 8 users in the first go, right? So the bank would buy 8 users, they would then work the solution, and then they would come back after sort of a cycle, which is a year or year and a half or so, and say, oh, this is really great, can we buy some more users, right? So 2021, they disliked this phenomenon, so they said, well, okay, now we're going to do some feature differentiation over here, so if you want to have, let's say Spark or Medium or one of these things, then you need to be enterprise. So they sort of try to sort of force through functionality thresholds the customer into larger tiers, which the customers dislike. So they say, yeah, we want Spark, but we only have 5 users. So now we feel like we're getting weirdly overpaid or overpriced. So the question is, why don't they want more users? Like they have just stated themselves that users are valuable, like they create value. Why wouldn't they want more of them? And
who, the banks or?
The banks.
Yeah.
No, so 2021, they want to sell more users, like definitely, right? But the banks don't want, the banks agree that users generate value, they just don't want to buy them.
What is a user in this concept?
It's someone who has access to the Grace license and can build AI models and deploy them. Yeah. In order to sort of understand what's going on, we need to sort of dig a little bit into sort of what it means to create value or be valuable in a context, because the devil is in the detail here. So in order for us to create value, we can look at this as a value chain. So I do something that allows me to do something else, that allows me to do something else, that allows me to get something I want, right? So I work out so that I lose weight, right? So there's a process going on. There's a causality with steps that start somewhere and ends with something I want. So at one end, I have input, I sacrifice my time and effort and so forth, and then I get something that I would rather want, which is whatever, to not be unattractive or something. And this is the exact same with all kinds of business models. So for the banks that use the Grace license, they say, well, we create an AI model project and team. So we're like, we want to do AI. So we're going to hire some people to do AI, and we're going to give them a budget, and then we're going to send them off their way. Then these people find some data sources and some idea for AI models, and they start to train some models, which they then deploy into the business, which then generates an outcome, like they do the credit scores or whatever, it automates something. Great. That's the outcome we wanted, right? So we invested the team and the budget in order to get the credit scores. Like it generates revenue. It does something for us in the other end of one. Like nobody wants an AI team. What we want is whatever the AI team does for us in the end. So one is an input end, aka cost, that is necessary because it causally creates the value that it comes out on the other end. What mostly everybody wants is to just have as much value as they can with as little cost as possible. So, if you have a value chain like this, you can look at each of the steps and say, what can I measure here? And then we can see that we could measure users here because they are the AI project team, right? And here we might measure data sources, a gigabytes processed or whatever. Here we might measure models in production, and here we might measure the credit scores or whatever comes out. Okay, great. These are the potential pricing metrics. That's how you come up with candidates for how could we price. It's like, what is the value creation process? What can we measure? Can we price by that? The key takeaway is that think of it like a rainbow. The gold is at the end, right? People want what is at the end of the value chain. They will accept to pay for what is at the beginning. That's why they have the process. Like they think that whatever I have to pay to get through this, what's at the end of my chain is going to be better, right? So they're fine with paying for users because they want the gold, right? But it isn't that they want the users. It's that they accept paying for them as a necessity to get the gold. So they price here and they price here, right? So for them it would be like, what would happen if you didn't price here? And maybe that goes to you guys at the back, right? Mm-hmm. What would happen if you didn't price per user? Well, users are free.
Yeah.
Push all the users in you want. Would you get more users?
Yeah.
Yeah. Same as 2021, right? They would then get more users. What would the more users do?
Use more data, process more data though.
And they would then create more models faster, right? Which is what we then price. Great. So now we have reduced the cost for the client of adopting the solution. They can get however much they want. They can invest more heavily into the value process, and then instead of, let's say, taxing that process at the end, like making it harder to get started, we just tax it at the end. We just take value when it is actually sort of created at the end. Right?